So West Asia is on the brink of yet another war. The tensions between Israel and Iran have never been higher. Israel has staged one of the biggest attacks that we've seen in recent times on Iran's nuclear facilities. And the latest confrontation has, of course, taken place, which the Israelis are terming as Operation Rising Lion. So the Israelis have now bombed, and they've done this several times over and over, Iran's nuclear sites in the last few hours. And the Israelis have also managed to decapitate the top military leadership of Iran. So the Israelis launched their strikes across Iran, but targeting the heart of Iran's nuclear program. The Israeli military has said that it has struck dozens of military targets, including the nuclear targets in different areas of Iran, including in the capital city of Tehran.
ورودی فرحزاده پایین یه ساختمان مسکونی زده شده.
Now, Tehran has confirmed that at least about 95 of its people have been injured very seriously in these Israeli bombings. The Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has said that this operation against Iran continues and has said that this attack, which has been termed the Rising Lion, will take many days. Now, Israel has confirmed that most of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Air Force leadership has been killed in the Israeli bombings. Iran has called the Israeli attacks a declaration of war. Iran's supreme leader has vowed to retaliate. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has warned Israel of a bitter and a very painful fate in the aftermath of these attacks. Iran has already begun its counterattack on the state of Israel. About 100 of its crewed drones were sent towards the state of Israel. The IDF claims that these slow-moving Iranian drones were all intercepted even before they entered into the Israeli airspace. A response from Washington is also pretty stern because, remember, the Americans have been hand in glove with this Operation Rising Lion. The American president has put out this social media post, which is effectively a warning and a threat combined. Now, the American president is asking Tehran to sign a deal before there is nothing left. In a Truth Social post, Trump is saying that the next planned attacks on Iran will be even more brutal. All right, now joining us on the broadcast, we've got Yusuf Jalali, who's an Iranian-based journalist. Yusuf, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on WION. And tell us what the situation at this moment is in Iran. What has been the scale of the damage that has been inflicted in this Israeli attack that was carried out since the wee hours of this morning?
Well, of course, Mohammed, Iran is waking up to a large-scale Israeli attack since the early hours in the morning. Of course, right now, the interesting part about this situation is that we see that different voices in Iran, even sometimes some conflicting opposition voices within the Islamic Republic's political sphere are joining the calls for a retaliation. Just hours ago, thousands of Iranians took to the streets in the capital, Tehran, and across the country in different major cities across the country after the weekly Friday prayer, taking a part in a march trying to urge the Islamic Republic to take an immediate action. They are calling Iran to retaliate for this Israeli strike against Iran before it's too late. Everybody's now urging Iran to, of course, punish, quote unquote, the Israeli government for violating Iran's sovereignty, calling this a foolish act. Many Iranian officials, even those who maintain some even opposition leaders inside the Islamic Republic, like Mohammad Khatami, the former Iranian president, these people are all joining the calls for the Islamic Republic to take an immediate action. And of course, we see that there are some military movements. We heard a couple of hours ago that the Iranian military launched around 100 drones called Shahed drones against the Israeli territories. But of course, we are not sure whether or not those drones have reached and targeted the Israeli territories or not. But this seems to be the first phase of a phased and a staged attack by the Islamic Republic, which most likely will involve the use of its hundreds, if not thousands, of ballistic missiles in the so-called underground missile cities to be used in this potential attack and the impending attack against Israel.
Right. Now, Yusuf, you've been tracking the developments that are unfolding, especially, with respect to what is happening in the region there. Now, for the last several weeks, there were these negotiations led by the United States of America with Iran for a nuclear deal. Is the leadership in Tehran guilty of becoming a little too complacent because they thought they were negotiating with the United States and therefore were not expecting an attack of this scale by the Israelis that has happened quite clearly with a blessing, if not the active participation of the United States?
Yeah, that comfort zone is felt too much during these past couple of weeks. The Iranian negotiators seem to be perhaps dilly-dallying, if we can call it, or seem to be complacent with try to stall the nuclear talks, try to buy time before actually October 18th, 2025, which is a deadline for the nuclear deal. After that deal ends, then Iran perhaps can negotiate with better conditions and trying to extract more concessions from the United States. But of course, this did not happen. We saw that the Europeans rushed to impose that special resolution against the Islamic Republic, and right after that resolution was imposed against Iran, Iran was busy covering actually the news about the special resolution by the EU members to the nuclear deal. Then all of a sudden we see that Israel attacked Iran, and that has been a warning by Donald Trump, the United States president. He gave Iran 2 months to think about this, and 2 months ultimatum has ended, and we see what happens now.
And also, Yusuf, because there's so little information that's coming out about these negotiations now, what is the Iranian government saying? Is it now saying that all negotiations are now off because of this attack that's been carried out? And how is it preparing for what Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu promises is going to be a long, drawn-out Operation Rising Lion, as he put it? How does Iran intend to brace itself for an attack that could be repeated over and over again?
Exactly. Regarding those negotiations, of course, the 6th round was planned and was scheduled for this coming Sunday. But now we're hearing unconfirmed reports from different sources affiliated with the Islamic Republic, saying and suggesting that those talks are now off the table given the situation and the circumstances happening right now. And Iran says that it will not, at least for now, pursue the path of diplomacy with the United States. It has in the past also warned the United States and Israel that any attack against the country's military or nuclear facilities will be regarded as an act of war, and it will blame it both on Israel and the United States. So that's why we see that we've been hearing warnings by different Iranian officials saying that the American bases in the region, including those located inside Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and even the United Arab Emirates, those are within Iran's reach of the Iranian missiles, and those are within the targets of any potential Iranian counterstrike against Israel. So this is despite the fact that the United States has tried to stay out of it, saying that it was not aware of what Israel did, but Iran regards the Americans to be part of this.
Absolutely, indeed. Now, Yusuf, this is something that I'm pretty sure, the analysts and the experts within Iran will be talking a lot about. Iran has a fatwa that's been given by the supreme leader there, which prohibits Iran from developing a nuclear weapon, even though Iran keeps insisting that its nuclear program is meant only for peaceful purposes of generating electricity. In the wake of this aggression by the Israelis backed by the Americans, will the Iranian top leadership relook at that fatwa and will relook at its nuclear doctrine?
Well, such a comment has not been directly heard from the supreme leader, who maintains that the Islamic law, or Islamic Sharia, as they call it, does not allow any country and any Islamic state to use or even develop nuclear weapons. That's
Right.
that's a fatwa or a decree, religious decree in Islam. But of course, we've heard some indications of using or developing nuclear weapons by some Iranian officials in the past, some low-level Iranian officials, but now more recently, senior Iranian officials. We heard it from Mr. Larijani, who's a senior advisor to Iran's supreme leader. He, I think a month ago or a couple of weeks ago, he mentioned that Iran, if Israel and the United States attack Iran's nuclear facilities, that leaves no choice for Iran but to go and pursue a nuclear weapon. So this suggests that this is not a red line. No longer is this a red line for the Islamic Republic.
And also, Yusuf, considering besides the nuclear sites of Iran that were hit, the fact that the Israelis have gone ahead and carried out what are described as decapitation attacks of the Iranian military leadership, taking out all top leadership members of Iran's military and its other elite guard forces. The question is obviously this: how differently is Iran now likely to approach the escalating tensions with the state of Israel that is backed by the United States?
Well, of course, to be honest, the Islamic Republic, we see it for the first time, actually, maybe in the entire history of 4.5 decades of the Islamic Republic, they're admitting the severity and the gravity of the Israeli attack against the country. So we've been hearing comments like, this has been very large, this has been very painful from Iranian officials. Many Iranian officials are now coming to realize that this attack has really decapitated their military infrastructure and also top military brass. So now the question remains whether Iran can lead its military ambitions, perhaps, or its potential military strike against Israel with these new commanders being appointed today, replacing those fallen officials. This is a question that remains to be answered as Iran tries to actually counterstrike and launch that strike against Israel.
Right. Thank you very much indeed, Yusuf Jalali, for joining us from Tehran and getting us all those updates there. We'll of course speak to you more as the story develops. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.